Hey YouTube, it's RJ and I'm so excited to show you this DIY project today. It is this 3-strand statement necklace that I'm wearing right now. So I think you can see it all the way on me. And I'll go ahead and take it off and show you. Here at the top is a clasp, but you don't really need it because it can just fit right on over your head. And then it's got this hemp-like cord, and then these knotted embellishments, and then 3 strands of beads. And it's pretty long. You could make it any length that you wanted, but this is the length that I liked my necklace to be. So I'll go ahead and show you the materials that I used, and then we'll get started with the tutorial. I actually saw my friend wearing this necklace a few days ago, and I liked it so much. She just told me she bought it in the store, and I knew that I could make it on my own. So I didn't buy any new materials when making this necklace, but you might have to buy some materials if you want to use exactly what I used, but you could use just anything that you think would serve the same purpose for the materials that I used. First you'll need scissors, so you'll definitely need these. Also a needle just makes beading a lot easier. I just got my needle out of this really cheap sewing kit that I have here with me at my apartment. I also used jewelry pliers, and that is because I used these jewelry links, or like chain links. I'm not really sure what to call them, like charm links. I don't really know. This is what they look like. They come in an array of sizes. And so you'll need that to possibly open or manipulate the shape. You could also just buy like a cheap charm bracelet and take a link off of it. You'll need 2 links. So you could also use an old bracelet, or even just wire. You could like mold it into the shape that you need. Then of course you'll need this like beading cord, or you could use hemp or string, really. Ribbon even would work fine. I used this kind of tan color, and that's only because I'll be using this black and dark brown for another project. You'll also need string for these 3 strands of beads. The hemp is actually too thick to get most beads on. So, and you can see the difference. And I used string for mine. So here's the width of the string, and then here is the cord next to it. So, I mean, that's pretty big difference. And you can just use any string that you have on hand. This is just what I had. I'm here with me in my small beading box back here. I had some white, and I just used some brown. If you do beading a lot, you might have some jewelry cord. I just didn't have enough to do all 3 strands the same length, obviously, because this is all I had. If you do use jewelry cord, you'll need clamp beads as well, and then you'll definitely need your jewelry pliers for that. Other than that, I just used beads, and this is the mixture of beads that I had left over, and it's an assortment of kind of brownish purples, gold tones, and then I threw in some turquoise colors just for fun. And these are some of the, I picked all the gold ones out of this mixture, but this is Mainstays, so I think that's Walmart. There's the Mainstays. Thread or jewelry wire. I chose to use thread, and you'll want to measure from the back middle of your neck down to however long you want your necklace to hang, and cut 3 equal pieces of this. And we'll just tie all those together in one big knot. Now go ahead and select one of your charm links and tie all 3 pieces in a knot around that charm link. And then we're going to set that aside and start selecting the beads you want to use. You can buy all of just one kind of bead if you want it to be all the same. I didn't have that, so I used a needle to easily select the beads that I wanted to use and set them on this Tupperware lid. And then I did have a lot of some, so I just dumped all those on there and just built it up until I had enough, what I thought would be enough to cover all 3 strands. So one end, we've got our charm links tied off on our thread, and on the other end we're going to select just one of our strings and thread it through a needle, and you want to leave about a 2-inch tail And you can just use your fingers to kind of hold the needle so that the tail doesn't slip back through that needle eye. And just start selecting the beads you'll want with your needle and letting them slide right over that tail and down onto your thread. And keep doing this until you fill up your entire thread length. And then you're going to want to take the last bead on that strand and tie a knot around it so that your beads don't go anywhere, or if you drop it or something, you don't lose all that hard work. Take your second strand and thread the needle through it and start getting those beads on there until you've filled it all the way up. And then we'll take that last bead and tie it off in a knot. We'll take our third and final strand and thread it through our needle, of course leaving that 2-inch tail, and start threading the beads on the needle until you've got it all full, and we'll tie a knot around the last one. There's all my 3 strands. And we're going to want to take those 3 strands and tie up those loose ends around a charm link. Trim the ends, and so they should look pretty equal. And then we're going to want to take some of our beading cord, and I inserted this picture here so you can kind of guesstimate how much cord you'll need. It's a good idea to hold it up to your own body and figure out where you want the beads to stop and where you want the cord to start, and just make sure you measure it all the way to the back middle of your neck. So measure that cord and then cut however much you need, and we're going to thread it through our charm link until we reach the middle. And it's good to just measure again even after you've done this to make sure it's long enough. And so just measure again. And then you'll tie it off in a knot, and we're just going to tie some more knots as well to start building up the width and mass of our thread so we can start wrapping it easier. And so leave one strand all alone and just use another strand to wrap and knot and start building up. So you can see that strand at the top is left alone, and I'm just adding more cord onto the one and just continuing to wrap around and incorporating those knots until you start to build up a bigger form and it starts to look a little bit more uniform. And next we're going to do the same thing to the other side. So you want to measure your cord again and make sure they're about the same and trim it off. Thread it through the other charm link that we haven't been using until you reach the middle, and then tie it in a knot, some big bulky knots just to build up the mass, and start knotting and continuing to wrap, adding more cord when necessary and incorporating that knot in until it starts to look about the same as your other knotted embellishment. Then that one strand that we left alone, that piece of cord that we didn't touch when we were wrapping, we're going to use that to tie on our clasps. And that's what my final necklace looked like. I hope that yours turns out well also. Thanks!